the two things your body needs to actually rebuild itself. Most people trying to fix their joints, bones, or skin are getting half the equation right and wondering why nothing is changing. Here's what's actually going on inside your connective tissue and why your approach might be working against you. Your body is not a storage system. It's a demand system. Tissue, bone, cartilage, tendon, fascia doesn't sit there waiting to be topped up like a fuel tank. It's built on demand. Your body only invests in building structure where it receives signals that structure is needed. And those signals come exclusively from one source, physical load. Think of it like a conversation. Your body asks, "Do you need this?" Movement is how you answer yes. Stillness is how you answer no. Over time, the body takes you at your word. This explains something that surprises most people. Immobilization causes tissue to break down faster than almost any other condition, including weightlessness. A limb in a cast for 6 weeks comes out visibly diminished. A person confined to bed loses structural integrity at a rate that exceeds even what astronauts experience in orbit. Not because something went wrong, but because the body received consistent signals that those structures weren't needed. So, where does supplementation fit in? Your body uses a protein called collagen to build virtually every structural material it has: bones, tendons, ligaments, cartilage, skin, blood vessel walls. It makes up roughly a third of all protein in the human body. The problem is, most people aren't getting enough of it through food. Modern eating habits lean heavily toward lean meat and processed products, neither of which contains meaningful amounts of collagen. It's found in skins, bones, and connective tissue, things that rarely appear on a modern plate. The daily shortfall for most adults runs somewhere between 7 and 10 grams. That gap is real, and filling it matters. But here's the part people miss. Supplementing collagen without giving your body the physical cues it needs to place that material is like delivering a truckload of lumber to a building site with no architect, no blueprint, and no workers. The material sits there. It doesn't become anything. Collagen supplements work, but only as one half of a system. The other half is mechanical input, specific types of physical load, applied to specific tissues at specific intensities and timing. Without that, the raw material doesn't find its destination. Different tissues speak different languages. This is where it gets specific. Not all movement creates the same signal, and not all tissues respond to the same kind of load. Here's how to think about it. Bones need impact and compression. Heavy, brief bursts. Weight-bearing movement, powerful jumps, loaded exercise. Send piezoelectric signals through bone tissue that trigger reinforcement. A few sets of jumps per week is enough to send that message. Without it, even calcium-rich diets can't stop the gradual loss. Tendons, the cables connecting muscle to bone, respond best to isometric and eccentric loading. Holding a position under tension for 30-45 seconds, no movement, just sustained force, is unusually effective. Slow, controlled lengthening of a muscle under load, like descending slowly from a pull-up, creates the type of force that strengthens the tendon rather than just fatiguing the muscle. These are not glamorous exercises. They're also not optional if you want functional tendons. Ligaments are wired for unpredictability. They detect and adapt to instability. Standing on one leg with your eyes closed, which forces your ligaments to respond to constant microcorrections, is genuinely one of the better ways to build ligament strength. Bringing joints to their full range of motion and applying gentle resistance at that endpoint also signals the ligament to reinforce itself. Cartilage has no direct blood supply, which means it depends entirely on movement-driven fluid circulation for nutrition and for the removal of waste. Regular walking keeps this circulation active. But the real stimulus for remodeling cartilage is end-range motion under intermittent resistance, bringing the joint to its limit and gently loading it there. This is also where pain becomes a serious obstacle: arthritis. Pain trains people to avoid the movements that would actually help them. The immobility that feels protective is, over time, accelerating deterioration. Spinal discs respond to decompression and alternating load. Hanging from something, even briefly, creates traction that draws fluid back into compressed discs. Inversion, flexion extension cycles, and any motion that rhythmically pumps the disc create the conditions for repair. Fascia, the continuous web of connective tissue that gives the body its overall shape, responds to full-range stretching with rotation and extension. Twisting, reaching, hanging, and bringing joints to their end range. Fascia stretching is less about any single exercise than about moving through a wide vocabulary of positions regularly. Skin gets its signals from stretch, expression, and temperature cycling. The face, specifically, responds to muscular expression. The micro-movements involved in chewing, talking, and physical emotion activate collagen turnover in facial tissue. Exercise that produces sweat, followed by cold exposure, creates a vascular signal that supports skin elasticity. The skin is also one of the tissues that accumulates debt most visibly when movement is absent. Blood vessels stay elastic through cardiovascular variation, brisk walking, intervals, nasal breathing, which increases nitric oxide and supports arterial flexibility. Vessels that receive no dynamic load become rigid over time. The silent threat, sustained sitting. Of all the ways humans restrict movement, prolonged sitting may be the most damaging per hour. It's not the absence of exercise. It's a specific postural lock that compresses certain tissues while leaving others completely unloaded for hours at a stretch. A person who runs every morning and sits for 10 hours is still creating conditions for cumulative tissue breakdown. The fix isn't more exercise, it's distributed movement throughout the day. The practical takeaway: if you're supplementing collagen, 15 grams per day is a reasonable daily target. Take it with vitamin C. Collagen synthesis depends on it biochemically, and the two should be considered a package. Timing it 30 to 60 minutes before a workout appears to improve utilization, as the amino acids are available when mechanical signals are strongest. If you're not moving, the supplement will accomplish very little. The tissue doesn't know the material arrived. There's no destination for it. The body builds what it's asked to build. Movement is how you ask. This content is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Consult a qualified healthcare professional for any health concerns.